What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today when I talk to you about Opendoor, I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what's really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure you hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So it is up 4.63%, definitely showing some signs of life today. $2 a low, $2.25 the high, and 86 million shares being traded. So relatively low volume, but then again, it's not just Opendoor, it is kind of the broader market. I think everyone's just holding their breath for a lot of big companies unveiling their earnings after hours today, as well as Powell. So that's coming out in roughly 1 hour. And most likely there won't be any cut immediately, but what Powell says afterwards could potentially gain some hype for a September cut. So again, I think big money is kind of waiting on the sidelines for that. As far as today, no official news from SoundHound, still no rubber stamp from the NASDAQ. Based on NASDAQ's website, they are still technically deficient. So today does mark the 12th consecutive day of it being over $1. So as I mentioned, on the low end, it could be 10 days, high end of 20. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see. But at the time of doing this video, shorts are returning a significant amount. They are returning 10.09 million shares. So technically, you can only imagine how high the stock will go and what shorts will do once the rubber stamp for the NASDAQ actually comes forth. But right now, like I said, returning 10.09 million shares, 32.58% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 213.47 million shares. So definitely good to see. And like I said, I think in reality, a lot of big names are really starting to draw attention to Opendoor. The Carvana guy is kind of reaching some articles and coming up through Bazinga. So Eric Jackson, he's very active on social media as well, kind of bringing up how technically Opendoor and what's happening with that is a very similar scenario to Carvana. So in case you don't know, that went up like insane. So I think, yeah, in reality, Opendoor does have a lot of good potential. Of course, I think at the end of the day, it's just needs to finally just get compliance. And then from there, people will start focusing more on the day-to-day operations. But for right now, I think we just have to kind of wait and see. One thing that did come out, though, that was very odd and very speculative was a amended 13G. So this did show Vanguard did reduce their position down to 66 million shares. So still a large chunk, but this did come out on the 29th. Very odd timing, if you ask me, because technically one day after the original shareholder meeting. So at the end of the day, I don't know why they would be doing this one day after. Potentially they were wanting to maybe swing the vote, or maybe they actually did want to go through with the reverse stock split. And of course, with it getting pushed back to end of August, maybe that's why they felt justified to return some shares. I'm not really sure, but definitely this is very, very odd. One thing that is really also hyping up the broader market is the good data that did come out earlier this morning. So we had ADP and also GDP data showing that the economy is absolutely on fire. So very good stuff as far as that. So yeah, I think things are getting very interesting. Shorts returning is always a very strong positive. Still, if you think about it, even yesterday though, it was at a all-time high short interest, roughly around 34%. So I think in reality, there's a lot more opportunity for Opendoor to really move up. Still 213 million shares technically can be returned. But aside from that, looking at the options, 5.21 million in calls, 1.31 million in puts, and 52% of all the options being done today are bullish in nature. And that's something that hasn't happened with Opendoor for a while. Most of the options have actually been relatively bearish in nature as a consensus. So definitely good to see that there is a certain level of optimism. From the bulls standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that $3 range for the most part, and you see a little bit of pockets for it to be roughly around that $5 to $5.50 as high as that. Then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub $1.50 to $2. So bears are still adamant that it is going to really push lower, possibly because of the data or companies unveiling their earnings. So right now with us at 216, give or take, we are at a key pivot. These are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. So this is, as I've mentioned, is kind of the smaller fish, still above 100,000. So keep in mind that, but Of all the transactions, everything is a buy with the exception of this one right here. So the last one, which was 431,000. This one, first thing, 1.3. So that really gained some good momentum because of that, and I guess kickstarted the push higher. But aside from that though, these are all the transactions occurring on the dark pool. So a lot of big transactions. And so of course, as I always have mentioned, shorts and hedge funds love to use this exchange to kind of hide a lot of their transactions, such as even Vanguard and whatever else. So this is why this is a very popular exchange. But aside from that, with it right now at 216, it is between this pivot and this S1. I know it doesn't seem that crazy of a day, but it was able to successfully get over that 207, and that was a very big deal from a technical standpoint. And I get it, I know I bring this up all the time, that momentum stocks and squeeze plays, you don't really have to pay attention to this all that much, but from a technical standpoint, algorithms really focus on that. So that's why I bring that up. So at least in the short term and for today, just watch for it to really close above that 207, and then 319 followed by 430 is going to be the next strong target / resistance points. No new analyst ratings, just a lot of articles coming out about it being a squeeze play and the full potential. So just do your own due diligence, of course, when it comes down to that. And then on the actual chart itself, though, you kind of see a little bit of a consolidation still below the ALMA. So that is at 231. So best case scenario, it does close above that today. And then that way you'll be able to see a very nice reversal, but still you have that 200-day moving average at 133, and because of the recent push lower, you see on the stochastic RSI, it is considered very oversold. So again, that could really stand to benefit it if it gets, let's say, some actual news or a rubber stamp from the NASDAQ, or potentially even a catalyst from their upcoming earnings. So let me know your general thoughts on all of that. If you want a deeper dive into some expectations for their earnings, I can definitely do that. Let me know in the comments if you'd want that or not. But aside from that, are you buying Opendoor? Are you selling? What's your kind of 2 cents on all that? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point and bangers. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.